Hey guys, welcome back to Ad Lib Talk, and today I'm going to be giving you my review for Ghost of Tsushima. Now, hopefully through this video review I'll be able to better explain what kind of game Ghost of Tsushima is and if it's the kind of game you will enjoy or not. By the way, don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoy it, and please do subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. I make videos about everything movies and video games, so if you like that, you'll definitely enjoy my channel. And remember to stay here till the end of the video to see what rating I give this game and to see whether this game gets my recommendation or not. Just like in my The Last of Us Part 2 review, I'm going to split up my review into positives and negatives. Ghost of Tsushima was developed by Sucker Punch Productions, who are mostly known for their infamous games, and is an action-adventure stealth game played in third-person perspective. The game is clearly inspired by Akira Kurosawa's films like Seven Samurai and Sanjuro, and has been in development for around 5 years. A lot of work has gone into this project, and that is clear for all to see. The game is set on an island called Tsushima, which was ruled over by samurai. It is the late 12th century, and the game starts off with a Mongol invasion of the island. The game's protagonist is Jin Sakai, head of Clan Sakai and a samurai warrior. Jin is the ward of Lord Shimura, who is also his uncle and ruler of the island. Jin's island, as mentioned already, was invaded by a Mongolian force led by Khotun Khan. Together with the rest of the island's samurai, Jin attempts to defend the island. However, this attempt ends up in disaster, with his uncle captured and most of the rest of the samurai dead. Just as a side, the prologue of the game is one of the best introductions to a game ever made. Jin is found by Yuna, who helps him heal and recover his strength. With her help and the help of a number of different characters, the responsibility has now all fallen on Jin's shoulders. He must help save his uncle, yet also protect the people of Tsushima from the rampaging Mongol forces. One of the main elements of the game is introduced very early on. Now, the samurai have a traditional style of fighting based around the concept of honor and facing your enemy head on. Jin, however, recognizes that to defeat the Mongols, he must employ a new set of tactics. And thus, he starts fighting the Mongols from the shadows, using stealth and secrecy to his advantage. This is something I truly enjoyed in this game. You can approach it in whatever way you want. Do you feel like facing a group of Mongol soldiers head on? Then you can walk up to a camp and challenge them. This puts you into a 1v1 situation where you have to release the triangle button at the right moment. This is the honorable way. You can also approach the exact same fight in the dishonorable way by sneaking in and assassinating your enemies. The combat in this game is some of the best combat I have experienced since playing Sekiro. This is not a Souls-like game, mind you, but there's a familiar flow to the combat. Once you start to learn the various dodges and parries, you will truly appreciate the depth of this combat system, and it will take you time to truly learn it. Do not fall into the trap of spamming light or heavy attack all the time, as you will miss out on a lot. It is fun and engaging. What about the stealth combat? Well, it's good, but there's nothing new here. There are things we have done many times before, whether it's in Assassin's Creed or in Shadow of Mordor, or in so many other games, mind you. This is not to say it is not enjoyable. Getting a triple assassination pulled off perfectly is extremely satisfying, or else killing a Mongol through a door. These are the kinds of moments you will feel more like a ninja than a samurai. So, to be clear, the stealth combat is all well designed and works really well. It's just that there's no innovation here. Along the way, you also have a lot of items like bow and arrows, kunai, smoke bombs, explosive bombs, and many other items to help you take out your enemies in a variety of different ways. To learn these techniques as well as other styles of fighting, the game employs a very light RPG system, which will allow you to choose whichever style of fighting you prefer to upgrade. There is nothing too complex here, but it's good that Sucker Punch gave us the opportunity to customize Jin, both visually with different armor dyes and types of attire, as well as in meaningful ways, such as with upgrades to different stances. There are 4 main types of stances you can use during the game, and each stance is appropriate for fighting against a particular kind of enemy. Now, for example, one stance is made for fighting against swordsmen, another is made for fighting against shieldmen, there's one for fighting against pikemen, and finally there's one to fight against those big brutes. You can switch seamlessly from one stance to another during combat. All of this works extremely well. Finally, I have to make a mention of duels, which are my favorite fights in Ghost of Tsushima. A duel is basically a boss fight where you face off against a single, strong enemy. These fights are not only breathtaking in their difficulty and epicness, but also extremely emotional and based strongly on the personality of both participants. There is a lot of studying involved in these fights. You have to see how your enemy attacks and learn their weaknesses to be able to successfully defeat them. In some duels it pays off to be aggressive, but in others you will be strongly punished. More games should follow on Ghost of Tsushima's duels. When you're not fighting your enemies or sneaking behind them, you're probably traveling, and if I had to be honest, this is probably the best part of the game. Traveling and the aesthetic beauty of a game go hand in hand when it comes to open world games, and that is definitely the case for Ghost of Tsushima. You get to travel around the whole of the island, which is a beautiful and lush one with impressive landscapes. The game does away with specific points and instead uses environmental storytelling. What does this mean? So basically the game uses its environment, and this includes a variety of colors as a guide for where to find something, whether that be flowers for example, or trees, the wind to help orient and direct players to their locations, fire and smoke to point out camps and villages under attack, birds to lead the player to shrines, foxes for example, and so on. All this helps remove any clutter from the screen so that the only thing you see is the actual game, and sometimes the objective written at the top left corner. There is nothing revolutionary here, but I hope this will be the future for all open world games. Stop giving us markers to show us exactly the spot where we have to go. Stop filling our screen with UI. Let us explore the world using the environment to lead us. And you have a lot of places to go in this game, mind you. Ghost of Tsushima is filled with exploration locations, which include bamboo strikes, haikus, hot springs, Inari shrines, lighthouses, pillars of honor, and Shinto shrines, which are all essential for improving Jin's abilities, or else just to get more customizability for him, such as the headbands you get for completing a haiku. This might seem like a lot, and yes, to be honest, sometimes I did feel like I was falling slightly into the Ubisoft trap of ticking boxes to complete objectives. However, whenever I felt this way, I stopped the busy work and went off in search of the next main objective. Another big positive for this game is that for an open world game on the PS4, the loading screens are surprisingly quite short. All this traveling is done with some very impressive cinematography, although I know at the end of the day you are the one controlling the camera. But as I traveled with my horse or ran with Jin, there were many times I felt like I was actively participating in an Akira Kurosawa samurai movie. For anyone who grew up watching his movies, this is a dream come true. And all this is in service of a fantastic epic story, told usually through the eyes of Jin Sakai, but sometimes we get to see what our antagonist Khotun Khan is doing and saying. The storytelling is heartfelt and will make you feel emotional in a number of different moments throughout the whole thing, including in a number of duels, which were previously mentioned. There is a particular moment in the second act, which I won't mention, but that especially, wow, what an experience. The story in itself is quite linear. The player has some small choices to make, some different conversation decisions can lead to different plot points. However, there is one main story here. You also have plenty of side quests, which are very character driven. A lot of thought and effort has gone into these side quests, and you will get to experience them together with a number of side characters who are fleshed out in these quests. The characters themselves start off almost as caricatures of themselves. Everyone starts off as super serious, super angry, and super boring. But with time, characters develop and change. There is betrayal, there are massive developments, and characters will become multifaceted and complex, and it is all done very well. Due to spoilers, I cannot go into details here, but trust me, you will enjoy the story and you will enjoy the characters you meet. Finally, in the positives, I have to also mention the music and sound design of this world. From the opening scene, I noticed I would fall in love with the soundtrack. The combat music was especially uplifting, and the emotional moments hit harder with the stirring soundtrack. And the sound design truly breathes life to this beautiful game. Bird calls are essential, as they will lead you to important locations of the map. Sword clashes sound great, and the feeling you get when you pull off a proper parry and hear that sound is something to experience. Well done. Now let's start talking about the negatives. First of all, the camera during combat, especially during combat between a number of enemies in a small area, either indoors or surrounded by buildings or trees, can get very annoying, as it gets stuck, and it gets stuck a lot. The lack of a lock-on is a big miss in this game, and I found myself attacking the wrong enemy or else attacking thin air a number of times. The experience of fighting enemies indoors especially is not pleasant, and it sometimes does ruin such an amazing combat experience. Big fights did sometimes turn into a bit of a mess. You will have absolutely no idea what is going on around you, and you might be surrounded by 20 allies, but you can be sure if there is one enemy, that enemy will still try to specifically attack you, which can be a little comedic. Also, on the combat side, given the lack of difficulty, you never truly get to learn from your mistakes. I started playing on medium but then switched to hard due to the lack of challenge. Yes, it did get harder, but overall, I feel that your mistakes are not punished hard enough. Games should learn from something like Dark Souls, and the lack of fair difficulty is missed in a game like this. Yes, there is a very deep combat system here, but you have no reason to learn it, since I'm sure many will simply spam attack again and again and still get through most of the game. Please don't do this. As mentioned before, take the time to learn the combat system and you will truly enjoy the experience much more. Given that this is an open world game, as much time and money Sucker Punch spent on this game, there still will be lots of bugs and glitches. Mind you, quality assurance in this game is great. There is a feeling of true polish here. However, bugs are part and parcel of an open world game, and this is especially dealing with jumping. Sometimes you jump and the character simply floats in the air. This is nothing that will ruin the game, however. Strangely enough, although Japanese voice actors are great, there's a real lip syncing problem here. The voice does not match with the mouth movement, and it's very obvious. This is basic stuff, and I was very surprised Sucker Punch did not do a better job with this. And finally, the following is more personal preference, but I feel that controls were not mapped the best way possible. I feel like attack should always be R1 and R2 with heavy and light, similar to Dark Souls. Why don't we have the opportunity to map our own controls? So, having gone through the positives and negatives, I think it's easy to say this is a great game, and you have to experience it if you enjoy action-adventure games, or if you enjoy exploring beautiful and rich worlds, or if you're just a big fan of samurai. The visuals, the game world, the storyline, the characters, the gameplay, the music, they are all of an extremely high level here, and whilst it's not perfect, this game is the best way Sony could have ended this console generation. The game never does anything too revolutionary, but it does everything very well. So if you have a PlayStation 4, do yourself a favor and go and purchase Ghost of Tsushima. But just a second, let me give you my final rating. So, I give Ghost of Tsushima a 4.5 out of 5. Excellent stuff by Sucker Punch. Now, just like with any other review, there is much more to say about this game. I want this to be a dialogue. So, what are your thoughts on Ghost of Tsushima? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time right here on Ad Lib Talk.